He was not a wildlife biologist. He was not a trained animal rescuer. He was not even on duty. Gordon Mellish was just a retired fisherman walking the docks at his local marina in Alert Bay, British Columbia, when he saw something in the fishing nets that stopped him cold. 3 baby otters, tangled, struggling, barely moving. He did not call for help first. He did not wait for someone more qualified to arrive. He knelt down on those cold, wet boards and started cutting them free. 2 of the babies wriggled loose and splashed their way back into the water, but the third one did not move. It was not breathing. No pulse, no response when he held it. No twitch, no cry, no sign of anything at all. It weighed almost nothing, just a handful of wet fur and a life that had nearly run out. This is the moment that reveals someone's character. Not the big rehearsed moments, the speeches and the preparations and the plans, but the small, unexpected ones, the ones where you have about 2 seconds to decide who you're going to be. Most people in that moment would have set the pup down gently. They would have told themselves they had done what they could, that it was already too late, that it wasn't their place to try more. And most people would not have been wrong to feel that way. Gordon Mellish is not most people.
He later said simply, "A life is a life, no matter what it is. Try to do your best to save it." And so he did. He placed his mouth over the otter's tiny muzzle and breathed. Think about what that takes for a moment. If you have never performed CPR on a human, it already feels impossibly fragile. The fear of pressing too hard, the fear of not pressing hard enough, the relentless fear that nothing you do will make a difference. Now imagine doing it on a creature that weighs less than a pound, a wild animal, a species that has never been handled by a human, that would normally flee from contact. Imagine doing it on a dock in British Columbia with no training, no equipment, no manual to consult, and no guarantee it would ever work. Gordon breathed again, and again. And then the otter moved. A twitch, then a shiver, then a weak, thin cry that Gordon said cut right through him. The sound of something that had almost been gone, deciding, against all odds, to stay. He kept the pup warm against his jacket. Within minutes, word had gotten to a local resident named Robin Quirk. Robin arrived at the dock quickly, and from the moment she saw the otter, she understood that this had become her responsibility too. Robin took the pup home. She set up a warm, safe space for the otter to rest through the night. She knew it needed more specialized care than she could provide long-term, but the nearest wildlife rescue center was not a short drive, and the pup needed to stabilize first. So Robin stayed with it. She sat beside it through the night, talking to it softly. She sang lullabies to a baby wild otter. Yes, a woman in Alert Bay, British Columbia, sat up through the night singing lullabies to a baby wild otter that had been brought back from the edge by a retired fisherman doing mouth-to-mouth on a dock. This is that kind of story. By morning, the pup was stronger. Robin loaded the otter carefully into her car and made the drive to the Wildlife Rescue Center. During the entire trip, she kept singing, the same lullaby, soft and steady and continuous, the sound the otter had heard all night and somehow learned to trust. The rehabilitation team at the rescue center took over from there. They assessed the pup, treated it, and began the slow, careful work of preparing a wild animal to go back to the wild. 1 week. That was all it took. 1 week of rest and expert care, and this otter, the one that had been lifeless in Gordon Mellish's hands just days before, was ready to go home. Subscribe right now if you want more of these stories every single week. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we bring you real rescues from real people doing things that most of the world never hears about. The release happened back in Alert Bay. Gordon was there, Robin was there, the small community that had shared the story and rallied around it was there. The wildlife team carried the pup down to the water's edge, and everyone held their breath. The otter leapt, not cautiously, not hesitantly. It hit the surface and dove, and for a moment there was only the ring of ripples spreading outward from where it had been. The crowd went quiet. And then from somewhere just beneath the surface, something happened that no one had quite allowed themselves to hope for. The otter found its family. Its mother was there. Its siblings were there, right there in Alert Bay, in the same water they called home as if they had never left. And the pup swam directly to them. No hesitation, no confusion, just a reunion that should not have been possible, made possible by a retired fisherman who decided that a life is a life, no matter what it is.
For Gordon, watching from the dock, it was the payoff for a moment of instinct he had not had time to second-guess. He had seen something small and broken and had chosen, without any training or guarantee, to try. That was the whole story in his mind. No heroics, no grand gesture, just a decision. For Robin, there was one more moment, the kind that does not make logical sense but stays with you forever. Weeks after the release, she returned to Alert Bay. She went down to the water where the otters were known to spend time. And on a whim, because it seemed like the right thing to do, she did something that had no rational justification. She whistled the lullaby, the one she had sung through the night, the one that had filled the car on the long drive to the rescue center. The otter swam toward her. Whether it was recognition, or scent, or something else entirely, nobody can say for certain. But Robin Quirk stood there on that dock in Alert Bay, British Columbia, whistling a lullaby into the morning air. And a wild sea otter, the one that had been dead in a retired fisherman's hands, came swimming in her direction. A life is a life, no matter what it is. Gordon Mellish said that. He meant it for a baby otter on a dock in a small Canadian town. But once you hear it, it is hard to unknow it, hard to walk past something struggling and tell yourself it does not count, hard to convince yourself that the effort is not worth it, because it always is. Gordon gave a breath. Robin gave a night, a morning, a lullaby, and a long drive. And a baby sea otter gave them both something back. It went home. That is what an ordinary person can do when they simply decide not to walk away.
Thank you for watching. If this story moved you, please subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it today. We will be back on Monday with another rescue that proves the world still has people like this in it. We will see you then.